My sister blocked me on everything, and I don't know how to breathe anymore. So I'm sitting here in the dark because I can't stand turning on the lights. My sister, Sophie, has blocked me. I mean completely. Phone, Instagram, even Venmo, which is just cruel. I tried calling my mom and all she said was, "Megan, you need to give her some space." Space. What does that even mean? Sophie isn't just my sister. She's my coordinate system. She's the person you call when your tire is flat, when you bomb a job interview, or when you just need to know if your new jeans make you look weird. She's my emergency contact, my default plus one, my entire safety net rolled into one person. I know what you're thinking, that I sound codependent, but it wasn't like that. It was just us. It's always been us. When I was 12 and a girl named Olivia started a rumor about me, Sophie went straight to her and handled it. I never heard from Olivia again. When I had my first real job interview and completely choked, I called her from the parking lot, sobbing so hard I couldn't drive. She left her own work, picked me up, bought me a pint of ice cream, and helped me rewrite my entire resume that night. She's always been the one to fix things, to make things right. That's our dynamic. I'm the one who messes up, and she's the one who makes it okay. I thought that was our bond, this unbreakable thing that defined us. I thought she needed it as much as I did. So why am I sitting here, typing this out to a bunch of strangers on the internet? Because she's gone, and everyone is acting like it's my fault. They don't understand. I was just trying to keep my world from falling apart. The crack started about a month ago. Sophie called me, her voice buzzing with an energy I hadn't heard in years. "You are not going to believe this," she said, practically vibrating through the phone. The Vexler. They flew me out for a final round interview. In Seattle. For a normal person, this would be cause for celebration. Popping champagne, screaming, all that stuff. But for me, the word Seattle landed like a punch to the gut. It wasn't a city. It was a black hole about to swallow my sister. My brain didn't process dream job or amazing opportunity. It just processed distance. 3,000 miles of it. Instantly, a slideshow of future disasters flickered through my mind. My car breaking down on the side of the highway. A dispute with my landlord over the security deposit. My annual struggle with taxes. All of these were scenarios that normally ended with me saying, "I'm calling Sophie." Who would I call now? I tried to swallow the panic and wrap it in a layer of concern. It's what a good sister would do, right? "Wow, Soph, that's huge," I started, my voice sounding thin. "But Seattle, isn't it really expensive? And you don't know anyone there. It's not safe to be completely alone in a new city. I'll make friends, Megan. And the salary they're offering would more than cover it," she said, her excitement barely dented. "But the weather," I pressed on, my desperation growing. "It rains like all the time. Your seasonal depression will go crazy. I just worry about you being so far away from family." From me. She sighed, a familiar, patient sound. "We'll video chat every day, I promise. It'll be like I never left." But I could feel it, even through the phone. A new kind of resolve in her voice. In the past, when opportunities had come up that might take her away, a study abroad program in college, a job offer in another state, I had always managed to plant just enough doubt, just enough guilt to make her stay. I'd play up my anxiety, my need for her, and she would eventually concede, saying something like, "You're right, the timing isn't perfect." This time, though, her reassurances felt different. They weren't for me, they were for herself. She was building a bridge to her new life, and I was just a ghost she was promising to write to. The first real crack in our foundation had appeared, and I was terrified it was about to split my whole world open. The night before her flight to Seattle, my anxiety went into overdrive. I paced my apartment for hours, my stomach churning. Every quiet moment was filled with the roar of a future without her. I saw myself struggling, failing, completely alone. It felt like a physical threat, like a part of my body was about to be amputated. I couldn't let it happen. I had to make her understand. Finally, I picked up the phone. The moment she answered, I let the tears come. It wasn't hard. They were right there, waiting. "Soph," I started, my voice already thick and broken. "I'm sorry to bother you. I know you need to rest, but I'm not okay." "Megan, what's wrong? Are you sick?" Her voice was instantly laced with that familiar, comforting concern. I don't know, I sobbed, sinking onto my couch. Everything's just falling apart. Work is a nightmare. My landlord is threatening to raise the rent again, and I think I'm getting that weird rash on my arm again. It's all just too much. I let out a shuddering breath. I can't handle all this on my own. The unspoken part hung heavy in the air between us. Without you, she was quiet for a moment. Megan, you're the strongest person I know. You can handle anything. Her words felt like a dismissal, a prepackaged platitude for a departing sister. It fueled my panic. No, I can't. Not now. Please, Sophie, you can't go. You just can't abandon me right now. It's the worst possible time. I'm not abandoning you, she said, but her voice was strained, losing its warmth and gaining a weary edge. This is an incredible opportunity for me, for my career. Why can't you be happy for me? I am happy for you, I cried, the lie tasting sour in my mouth. But your happiness can't be the only thing that matters. What about us? What about me? Who's going to be here when everything goes wrong? You're my person, Sophie. You've always been my person. You can't just stop. I was spiraling, throwing everything I had at her, weaponizing our entire history. I reminded her of every crisis she'd ever guided me through, framing them not as favors, but as proof that we were an inseparable unit, that her role was to be my anchor. The silence on the other end of the line was long and heavy. It felt different from her usual patient pauses. It was hollow. When she finally spoke, her voice was flat, utterly drained of emotion. I have to go, Megan. I have an early flight. But will you think about it? Really think about what you're leaving behind? I pleaded, my last desperate card. Another long pause. Then a sigh so deep it felt like it came from the bottom of her soul. I'll think about it, she said and hung up. I stared at my phone, the screen dark. A wave of sick, twisted relief washed over me. It had worked. I was sure of it. She'd think about it, which was Sophie code for I'll do what you want. I had saved us. I went to bed that night feeling like I had narrowly averted a catastrophe, completely oblivious to the fact that I had just lit the fuse to a much, much bigger one. The next few days were a blur of anxious silence. Sophie flew to Seattle, did her interview, and flew back. Her texts were short and noncommittal. It went fine. Tired. Talk later. The usual warmth was gone, replaced by a chilling distance. My sick relief from our phone call curdled into a new kind of dread. She was pulling away, and my emotional blackmail hadn't been the anchor I'd hoped for. It had been a dead weight she was now trying to cut loose. She was still going to leave. I could feel it. That's when the idea came. It wasn't a fully formed plan, just a frantic, ugly little thought that wormed its way into my brain. If she couldn't get the job, she wouldn't have a reason to go. It wasn't about hurting her, I told myself. It was about protecting us. It was a necessary evil to keep our world intact. My heart hammered against my ribs as I opened my laptop. We had a shared family cloud drive, a digital junk drawer of old photos, tax documents, and as I quickly discovered, Sophie's resume. It was perfect. Polished, professional, listing years of accomplishments that suddenly felt like betrayals. She had built this entire other life, this ladder, and she was about to use it to climb right out of my reach. I scanned the resume, my eyes landing on Vexler. A quick search brought up their biggest competitor in Seattle, Aperture Dynamics. My plan, if you could even call it that, was crude and childishly simple. I would make her look disloyal. I'd create a complication. Vexler was known for their intense vetting process. If they thought she was shopping around offers, especially with their main rival, they might pull their offer. It was a long shot, but it was something. My hands were shaking as I created a new, anonymous email address. I attached her resume to a new message, addressed to Aperture's general HR inbox. Then I paused, staring at the blank body of the email. I needed to write something, a cover letter of sorts. But what? My mind was a fog of panic. I just started typing, a jumble of corporate buzzwords I'd picked up from TV shows. Dear Aperture Hiring Manager, I am a highly motivated synergy expert, seeking to leverage my core competencies in a dynamic, forward-thinking environment like Aperture. It was garbage. A nonsensical word salad that I hoped would look just legitimate enough to be flagged in Vexler's background check, but not legitimate enough for Aperture to take seriously. I hit send. The email vanished into the digital ether. I immediately felt a wave of nausea. What had I just done? But then, a stronger, darker feeling pushed it aside, a grim sense of satisfaction. I had thrown a wrench in the works. I had protected my home. I had saved her from making a terrible mistake. I closed the laptop, my heart still racing, and told myself I had done the right thing. It was a desperate, stupid, unforgivable act, and in that moment I was convinced it was an act of love. A week later, my phone rang. The screen lit up with Sophie's name, and for a heart-stopping second, I thought maybe everything was okay. Maybe she'd decided to stay, and this was the call where we'd laugh about how silly I'd been. "Hello," I answered, trying to sound casual. "Megan." Her voice was perfectly level. No anger, no sadness, just a calm, flat clarity that was more terrifying than any scream. It was the voice of a scientist observing a specimen, or a judge about to deliver a verdict. "Hey, Soph, how are you?" I chirped, the cheerfulness sounding insane even to my own ears. She ignored the pleasantry. "I have a question for you, and I need you to be honest with me. Why did you send my resume to Aperture Dynamics?" The world tilted. The air rushed out of my lungs. My mind went completely blank, then scrambled for a defense. "What, Aperture? I don't know what you're talking about. I've never even heard of them." "Don't lie to me, Megan," she said, her voice still unnervingly calm. "Don't make this worse." Their head of talent acquisition reached out to me directly. She said she received my resume from a strange, anonymous email, but that my qualifications were too impressive to ignore. Apparently, they've been trying to poach someone from my current company for months. They set up an emergency interview with me the day after I got back from Seattle. My blood ran cold. This wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to be a quiet act of sabotage, a little digital tripwire. Not this. I don't, I stammered, my throat closing up. Sophie continued as if I hadn't spoken, her voice a precise, emotionless scalpel. "They were incredible, Megan. They moved faster than Vexler, their team was smarter, and the project they want me to lead is 10 times more interesting. The salary is 20% higher, and they offered a signing bonus that's honestly life-changing." She paused, and I could hear the faint sound of her taking a breath. It was the only sign she was still human. "I accepted their offer this morning," she said. Each word was a perfectly placed stone, building a wall between us. "So, I guess I should be thanking you. You were so desperate to keep me from getting a great job that you accidentally landed me a perfect one. I'm moving to Seattle next month." I was completely frozen, unable to speak, unable to even process the monumental, catastrophic way my plan had backfired. Then came the final, devastating blow. "You know," she said, and for the first time, a sliver of something raw and painful entered her voice. "I was actually considering turning Vexler down. After our call, I kept thinking about you, about everything. But this proves it. You didn't want me, you wanted a zookeeper, someone to manage your life so you didn't have to. I finally understand that as long as I'm within your reach, I will never, ever have a life of my own. So, thank you for making the decision so easy." She paused again. "Goodbye, Megan. I wish you the best." The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my hand trembling. I tried to call her back. The call didn't go through. I sent a frantic text. It wasn't delivered. I opened Instagram. Her profile was gone. She had surgically removed me from her life. And the worst part, the part that was making me physically sick, was that she had used my own pathetic, ugly betrayal as the scalpel. The following weeks were a waking nightmare. I existed in a fog of confused regret, replaying that final conversation over and over. How did it go so wrong? I wasn't trying to hurt her, I was trying to keep her. The logic felt so clear in my head, but the outcome was this: apocalypse. The silence from her was absolute, a void where the most constant presence in my life used to be. The breaking point came with a call from my mom. I expected her usual gentle prodding to apologize, to smooth things over. Instead, I was met with a fury I had never heard from her before. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she asked, her voice shaking with a rage that felt years in the making. "Mom, I know I messed up," I started, my voice already cracking. "I was just so scared to lose her." "Lose her," she cut in, her voice rising to a near shout. You have been losing her piece by piece for years, Megan. You just never bothered to notice, because you were too busy taking. I was stunned into silence. Let me tell you something you don't know, she continued, the anger now mixed with a deep, sorrowful pain. 5 years ago, Sophie was accepted into a master's program in London. A full scholarship. It was her dream. She turned it down. Do you know why? Because you had just gone through that horrible breakup with Daniel and were threatening to drop out of college. She said, "Mom, I can't leave her like this." So she stayed. My stomach dropped. I remembered that breakup. I remembered being a complete wreck for months, calling Sophie at all hours, needing her for everything. I never once thought about what she might have given up. And that's not all, my mom pressed on, her voice thick with tears. 2 years ago, her old boss offered her a promotion, a huge one. It would have meant relocating to Chicago. She was about to accept it, but then you got laid off from that marketing job and you were a mess. You needed help with your rent, with your resume, with your confidence. So she turned it down. She told her boss the timing wasn't right. The timing was never right for her, was it, Megan? Because it was always about your timing. The words hit me like physical blows. Each one was a memory, a crisis of mine that I now saw in a horrifying new light. They weren't just moments where Sophie had helped me. They were crossroads where she had actively chosen my well-being over her own future. She has been hitting the brakes on her own life for you for almost a decade, my mom sobbed. And the one single time she decided to finally hit the gas, you didn't just stand in her way. You poured sand in her engine. That's what you did. The truth of it, the sheer, monumental selfishness of my entire existence in relation to her, crashed down on me. I wasn't just a dependent sister. I was a parasite. I begged my mom, through my own hysterical sobs, to get Sophie to talk to me. Just once. Just for 5 minutes. A few days later, my phone rang from an unknown number. It was her. I poured out the most pathetic, heartfelt apology of my life. I told her what Mom had said, that I finally understood. I didn't make excuses. I just cried and said I was sorry. She listened without interrupting. When I was finished, there was a long, tired silence. "I believe you, Megan," she said, her voice impossibly weary. "And I forgive you." A tiny, fragile flicker of hope ignited in my chest. "But," she continued, and that one word extinguished it completely, "I can't let you back into my life. Forgiveness is for me, so I don't have to carry this anger around. But setting a boundary is also for me. It's the first one I've ever really set with you, and I have to hold it. I can't be your safety net anymore." And that was it. She wished me well, told me she loved me, and said goodbye. The forgiveness felt worse than the anger. It was an ending. A final, calm, and absolute no. It's been a few months. The deafening silence has become a low, constant hum in the background of my life. I'm learning to function, I guess. I pay my bills on time. I go to work. I even manage to make small talk with the cashier at the grocery store. I'm surviving. Tonight, I was washing dishes when I heard a loud bang from under the sink, followed by a sickening hiss. I opened the cabinet to a spray of hot water hitting me in the face. A pipe had burst. Water was already pooling on the linoleum, spreading fast. A wave of pure, childish panic washed over me. My heart leaped into my throat, and my first thought, my only thought, was a primal scream in my head. Sophie. My hands, slick with dishwater, fumbled for my phone. My fingers moved on their own, a frantic dance of muscle memory. I swiped open my contacts, my thumbs scrolling with an instinctual speed, landing on her name before my brain could even catch up. And then I froze. My thumb hovered over the green call button. The screen glowed back at me, illuminating her name. Sophie. It was just a word now, a ghost in my machine. A reminder of a connection I had severed with my own stupidity. The number was useless. The person on the other end had built a wall I could never breach. The water was rising around my ankles, cold and shocking. But I barely felt it. All I could feel was the vast, bottomless emptiness that opened up in my chest. The burst pipe, the flooded kitchen, it was just another mess. But the one person I had always called to fix my messes was gone. And this time, she was the one thing I had broken that could never, ever be fixed.